Former Vice President Joe Biden getting called out last night for multiple false claims during the debate. We're going to go through some examples and get reaction from our panel. Tom Borelli, a Newsmax Insider, is going to join us. Also, Nan Hayworth with the Independent Women's Forum and a former New York Congresswoman. All right, good morning to both of you. Let's jump right into it and start here with Trump and Biden's exchange about the travel ban and xenophobia. Here's what was said at the debate last night.
But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing, you're xenophobic. I think he called me racist even, and because I was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You certainly did. You certainly did.
I talked about a xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about closing the border to Chinese coming to the United States.
All right. Okay, so Joe Biden there denying he called Trump's travel ban xenophobic. But here's what Biden was saying as late as March. Listen to this.
Downplaying it, being overly dismissive, or spreading misinformation is only going to hurt us and further advantage the spread of the disease. But neither should we panic or fall back on xenophobia. Labeling COVID-19 a foreign virus does not displace accountability for the misjudgments that have been taken thus far.
So, Nan, we see it on tape there, right? And then we also saw what was said at the debate. But unfortunately, once it's on record, it's there to stay. Why do you think the former VP, did he forget about what he had said previously?
Emma, it's entirely plausible that former Vice President Biden doesn't exactly remember what he said, but you're absolutely right. The record is permanent, and it is not his friend. When he described the president as xenophobic and histrionic, it was in direct response in terms of time. It was the day after the president said that he would cut off flights from China. So quite clearly, Biden's tweet was calling for a response to science, not xenophobia. Clearly, he was calling the president's move xenophobic, and it took him a full 2 months, took Joe Biden 2 months finally to come around and acknowledge that, in fact, that travel ban was a good decision and one that he might make himself. Joe Biden has no defense on this, Emma.
Tom, what's interesting, too, is, of course, Joe Biden is very quick to criticize President Trump and his handling of the coronavirus. And yet, when you listen to maybe his own plan or thoughts that he suggested, it doesn't sound all that different from what the president and his administration have already set forward.
No, I'm absolutely right. Look, President Trump had it right on the pandemic right from the start. Again, he banned travel from China at the end of January when it was very unpopular. In fact, the World Health Organization criticized President Trump about that. Biden was back then, he was trying to play the race card. And Dr. Hayworth is exactly right. It took 2 months for Biden to finally come around and say, well, the travel bans are good. He also criticized the European travel ban. That would have been 2 months of thousands and thousands of affected people coming into the U.S., which would have led to tens of thousands of additional deaths. Biden is a disaster. He had an open borders policy to deal with the pandemic. Infectious disease 101 means you isolate the infected people from the healthy people. You do not mix them together.
All right, let's switch gears, talk about another topic of the night, fracking. CNN, in fact, even fact-checked Joe Biden on that issue. Listen to this.
So in this case, Trump is correct. Biden did make anti-fracking comments during the Democratic primary in 2019 and 2020, and Trump was not lying.
So, Nan, even if CNN is acknowledging it, is Joe Biden here trying to rewrite his record and what he said?
Of course, Emma, because what he said in a Democratic primary, because his counterparts were so far to the left and he was trying to win, obviously, is something that cannot be successful with the general electorate, especially in some very key states. So Joe Biden repeatedly stated that he would eliminate fracking, and he did not stipulate that it would only be prohibited on federal lands. So you're right. If even CNN fact checks Joe Biden to Biden's disadvantage on this one, you know it's true. This man was lying to the American public last night, or he was lying to the American public earlier this year. But knowing what his counterparts in the Democratic Party want for this country, you can guarantee that he will be obligated to support a ban on fracking, and that has terrible implications for a whole lot of states, for our economy as a whole, for energy independence, and even for the environment, because fracking natural gas is probably the key reason that our carbon emissions have gone down. It's bad for Joe Biden no matter what, and a big win for President Trump.
Yeah, well, it plays largely into the state of Pennsylvania, of course, a battleground state, a state that both candidates are really trying to win this time around. And Tom, you know, when we were watching the end of the debate even, Joe Biden said that he was going to transition from the oil industry. So now not only are you worrying about those Pennsylvania voters, but now you've got Texas voters as well that, I mean, I guess they're just trying to figure out where Joe Biden really stands on these issues that are so important to their economies.
Well, I mean, the record really stands that former Vice President Joe Biden is against all natural traditional energy, coal, oil, natural gas. Let's not forget, under the Obama-Biden administration, they went out to bankrupt the coal industry, and they still haven't recovered. Biden will do the same thing to our energy infrastructure. And remember, talking about Pennsylvania, there's something like 370,000 jobs in the energy sector in Pennsylvania alone. So when Biden stands up there on the national stage and lies to the American people, he really thinks the people in the United States, voters around the country and in Pennsylvania, are stupid. All you need to do is look at the record, and behind the scenes, you have the Green New Deal with Representative Ocasio-Cortez pulling those strings. They're going to go after those energy jobs, and it's going to be horrendous for the United States. Higher energy prices, lower disposable income, and weaken our foreign policy.
I'm glad we've got you two as our fact checkers here on National Report. We appreciate the time so much. Nan and Tom, take care. Thank you.
Thank you,
Emma. Thank you.